Opposition in Alberta, and also the MLA representing Edmonton Strathcona. Rachel was here in Lethbridge to do a bring your own lawn chair and physical distance town hall, and she graciously agreed to do this interview. So thank you very much, Rachel, for coming and for coming to Lethbridge. And I know that you've come many times before, and I'm glad that you're here right now.
It's great to be here.
So I know that I guess one of the things that makes me so proud of you is that you just don't come to talk to people. You come to listen, to hear what people have to say, and you certainly did that last night. So I know our time is short, so I have 2 questions on senior issues and 2 questions on rural Alberta, and I'm going to alternate them because I don't know if we're going to have enough time to get them all in.
Good question. Good plan. Yeah.
The first question is, recently the government has said they will increase long-term care beds by thousands. These beds are all going to be privatized. Many Albertans have said to me, if that happens, they're going to have nowhere to go if they need long-term care. So how are you and your members trying to deal with this?
Well, certainly we are taking every opportunity we can, first of all, to push back against the government's decision that these need to be privately delivered continuing care spaces. What we know, I mean, for heaven's sakes, what we know from the last 6 months is that there are profound vulnerabilities within continuing care with respect to the quality of care that we provide to seniors who need that care and who deserve our respect and our focus. What we know is that there are challenges within the system as it is, and you and I have known, and we've talked about this for decades, well, at least 2 decades, that privately delivered healthcare doesn't work as well, and that health outcomes are lower. What we've seen through the pandemic is we've seen the reality of that in profoundly tragic ways.
Yes.
So what needs to happen is we need to move forward on high quality, affordable, continuing care where necessary. And then we also need to move forward on strategies that will allow seniors to stay at home longer. And, just today, for instance, as you know, the federal NDP has been pushing for a very, very long time for a pharmacare program.
Yes.
And we know that affordable drug care will make all the difference to seniors being able to maintain their health in order to stay at home longer. It's not the only issue, but it is an issue. As you know, in the last election, we actually proposed to eliminate the $25 per prescription copay, which often serves as a barrier to many seniors being able to afford their drug costs. The government not only didn't do that, they threw 60,000 seniors off of the drug plan, and now they are claiming that they utterly will refuse to work with the federal government on a pharmacare program, which is, it's immoral, it's inhumane, and we know that will go such a long way to helping seniors stay longer in the right place. The other thing that, as you know, what we did when we were in government, there was this program that the previous government had set up with respect to privately delivered continuing care. And because they'd already invested in it, what we did was we raised the level of care that those places had to provide.
Yes.
And then with our additional beds that we provided, we invested directly into publicly delivered new beds. And that's exactly what we have to do going forward. This idea that you can privatize it and use the need for continuing care as a money-making venture off the backs of Albertans is wrong. And as your people who've written to you have also identified, a lot of these private homes aren't affordable. They ask people to pay too much. And just, it's horrible. Just 2 days ago, I was having a conversation with someone who was telling me about 2 separate friends whose parents had died in one of these privately run long-term care homes where the family had been paying, $5,000-$6,000 a month to make sure that their loved one was well cared for. And when the end of their life came, these private homes are insisting that they continue to pay the $5,000 or $6,000 a month until the end of the lease term or the contract after the person has died, which is shocking to me. Shocking. Anyway, so that's not the path to really caring for our seniors.
Well, I'm happy to hear you're still on the right path.
Well, it's harder in your absence, but we do what we can. Yeah.
Yes. So as you mentioned last night, one of the things in Lethbridge that has helped us sustain through the economic ups and downs, and certainly through COVID, is that we've got a diversified economy here. You have heard both Shannon and I talk about agriculture in and around Lethbridge, and it has truly been part of the economy. Many rural Albertans have asked me about things like broadband to help support both agriculture and renewable energy. What is your party working on, my party too, on as kind of a rural platform piece to address this for the next election? I know you don't have the platform done yet, but what kinds of things are you looking at?
Well, we are just a few days away from launching what will be sort of our introductory invitation to Albertans to participate in a much more robust conversation about our economic strategy going forward. And one element of that, of course, will involve agriculture. And we'll be releasing a paper on ways in which we can support and diversify and grow our agriculture sector here in Alberta, and then inviting people to participate in and to talk about it, to add from it, to comment on what we got wrong, to add, talk about what we might have hopefully gotten right, and also to give us new ideas that can be part of it. And one of the things that we'll be saying to people is like, listen, you don't have to be an NDP supporter or an NDP voter or anything. We are in such a critical time in Alberta, and diversification is so important. This is a cross-party thing, and we can't cook up ideas in back rooms. We need to talk to everybody, and so there's no question that one of the first planks that we'll be talking about is the agriculture sector. Rural Alberta, there's a lot of things that will support rural Alberta's economic growth. You talked about renewable energy; that's super critical. All the things that we did to grow renewable energy sector. We know that as of this year, worldwide, it will surpass oil and gas in terms of being the number one investment dollar destination. And of course, we're disappointed because as a result of our climate leadership plan, we had actually positioned Alberta as the number one continental destination for energy investment dollars in renewable energy. It was coming to Alberta because of the programs we had in place. The Kenney government has cut all that, and now we're falling behind at a time where multiple jurisdictions are rushing to be the leader on that, and we should be the leader too. So time is a ticking, and we need to get right back on that, and that's something that I think will help a lot of folks in rural Alberta. Broadband is a very important issue, and we are working on that piece as well. You can rest assured, and we will have a proposal on that, because I think, again, what we've learned so much from COVID is that more and more people can do work from home. And for people who are committed to living in rural Alberta, who want to be able to work in farm, who want to farm, right? But who are used to supplementing their income through other work, particularly in the oil and gas industry. If we have broadband, we can increase what those folks can use to supplement their income above and beyond, also making sure that it actually makes sense for them to continue to grow our food and give us food security.
Certainly those people in rural Alberta who keep talking to me and telling me what the issues are will be happy to hear those things. And I will certainly encourage them to provide feedback to you as you develop your platform plan. So now back to seniors. The current government has mused about clawing back CPP to the province, and seniors have expressed to me rather strongly that they do not want this to happen.
Right.
Do you have any strategy in which seniors across the province can participate and support to stop this from happening.
Right. Well, as you know, Christina Gray, who
Yeah.
you know very well, who is our labor critic, introduced a private members bill, which of course the UCP actually stopped us from being able to debate. But it was a bill that would have barred the government from moving any further with this ridiculous idea of pulling Alberta out of the Canada Pension Plan. I mean, I want your listeners to really ask themselves these questions. After what they've seen from Jason Kenney over the last 18 months, you know, he said he would support schools, he cut schools. He said he would be respectful to doctors, he attacked them. He's driving doctors out of rural communities. He's attacking people on age. He's, he's attacking disabled children within our schools. I mean, there is no end. Is this the guy who you want to have sole control over the amount of pension you receive 6 years after you've retired?
Yeah.
Come on. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, the answer is keep Jason Kenney's fingers off of our pension. And the way to do that is to make sure it stays within CPP. So Christina Gray has started a petition that's been around for some long, handsoffmypension.ca. And I would begin by urging people to go to that website and sign up on the petition, and to get their friends to, and then to talk to them about what's going on. Because first of all, it will cost Albertans to pull out of CPP. But secondly, when people plan their retirement, you know, and they plan, many people, most people should plan 30 years in advance. Very few of us do. But when we get to the point of retiring, CPP is a critical part of those retirement plans. And you need to know that it will be there for you when you're ready to retire, and that it will be there for you perhaps 25 years after you've retired. We don't know, right? Yeah. And the idea that it could be put in jeopardy by an extremist, anti-regular person government like the Jason Kenney's UCP is scary to me.
Yes.
And, you know, he has repeatedly referred to CPP as a tax on employers. That's what he sees it as. Here's the guy who literally has the richest public sector pension in Canada to back him, the only politician in the whole legislature who actually has a pension, because as you know, Alberta MLAs don't have pensions, but that's different, that's whatever, it's not about us.
Yeah.
But the point is, he has the richest public sector pension from Ottawa, and he thinks that he should have the right to go after the modest security that people get through CPP.
Yeah.
It's just wrong, and people have got to fight back against him.
It is so mean-spirited.
Yeah.
Well, I have to tell you, there's an awful lot of seniors that are really furious when they heard this.
Yeah.
And people who supported the UCP in the last election and have told me right out they will never support them again, and they are supporting the NDP. So
well, and two,
I was happy.
Yeah, and the other thing, just to add to it too, is one of the things they didn't talk about in the election was the plan to go after public sector pensions as well. I mean, not only have they eliminated the right of workers to have equal say about how their public sector, how their pension funds are managed, but they've also now insisted on jamming them all together to have AIMCO manage them. And as many people will know, AIMCO actually has delivered below the sort of market expectation of a fund manager. So what is it that Jason Kenney has in mind for those hard-earned pension funds that he is trying to consolidate and take over management of? It's a bit troubling and worrisome there too, and I've heard a lot of people express a lot of concern about that too.
Yeah, I've encouraged them to write letters, make appointments,
talk to their neighbors.
Yeah, they haven't been successful in getting appointments to see their local MLA. Obviously that's not Shannon, because they would see her.
Yes.
Okay, my last question is back to rural Alberta. Many people have expressed to me their concerns about doctors, clinics, and hospitals leaving and or closing because of the current government's policies, which truly disrespect both our doctors and rural Albertans. And I think disrespects Albertans as a whole. So I hear you and all of our members in the NDP caucus fighting back in question period and in the media. Is there anything else, again, we as Albertans can do to support this fight back?
Well, again, I think, the fundamental piece, here's the thing. Jason Kenney and the UCP came to power with a tremendous amount of support from rural Alberta, and so be it. But he made them a certain number of promises. And in return for that, he has many, many rural MLAs. And so what I would suggest is that as much as you can talk to, so they need to keep that rural support.
Yes.
So as much as you can talk to folks in those ridings and in those constituencies, that's what people should do. And here's the thing. Here's what they should talk about. I mean, essentially what appears to be happening is that Jason Kenney and the UCP are completely taking rural Alberta for granted.
Yeah.
They have basically concluded nobody else is ever going to get voted for here except us, so we can do whatever we have to rural Alberta. And let me be clear, the list is long.
Yeah.
They are they are jacking up the costs of living in rural Alberta in a multitude of fronts. You think back about how hysterical they were about the carbon tax.
Yeah.
And I will say to you that the costs that have been downloaded onto rural Albertans since Jason Kenney has been elected are make the carbon tax pale in comparison. It's a fraction of it. We're looking at massive increases in property taxes because of either the plan to recalculate the linear assessment in order to give oil and gas companies a break, and typically it'll be the great big ones that are getting the break.
Yeah.
We are seeing downloading of costs onto municipalities, whether it be infrastructure or whether it be the police. So I mean, this is a government that ran on an anti-crime agenda in rural Alberta. What they didn't tell everyone was like, yeah, we're going to put more police there, but we're going to actually make you pay for all of them, so you're actually going to be paying way more to have rural crime addressed, even at the same level, let alone a greater level. So that's a new one that people didn't expect to see. And then, so their costs are going up there. Then you're seeing things like school bus fees and school fees skyrocketing again. And rural Albertans are going to be paying there. And then, of course, there's this thing that you raised, which is this attack on doctors. Yeah. And nowhere is that jeopardizing communities more than in rural Alberta. And and anyone who lives in rural Alberta knows that if you lose medical care in your small town, that's one of the things that is going to send people packing. They're not going to stay in those communities. And I know, growing up in rural Alberta, what kind of effort that community leaders, whether they're elected or unelected, put into recruiting family doctors. It is not easy work. And yet they put that work in because they love their communities, and they did what they needed to do to get family doctors into their communities, and now they are leaving in droves because of this incredibly high-handed, arrogant, top-down approach of Jason Kenney and the UCP. And so if I were living in rural Alberta, I would be going to my rural MLA and saying, hello, you let me down on pretty much every single solitary thing that we told you we cared about, and you know what? I can vote differently. And if you don't fix these issues like pronto, I will be voting differently.
So I will tell you that from the BC border to the Saskatchewan border, people in rural Alberta have spoken to me, and they have tried to speak to their MLAs who won't meet with them. No. So I think the loss of votes will be seen in 2023. But in the meantime, we have to protect our province, and thank you for all the work that you do in the legislature to make an effort to try and protect us. I wake up in the morning. I stopped watching the news in the morning because I'd be depressed by lunchtime. But now I'm getting it on my Facebook and Twitter, and so I'm still depressed by lunchtime.
Yeah, there's hope too.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. I think we got
Rachel, I can't tell
Yeah.
you how much I appreciate you coming and doing this interview. So you've been listening to Maria's Musings on Jess FM. .ca with our very, very special guest, Rachel Notley, leader of the official opposition here in Alberta. Thank you for joining us, and we will do it again. And in fact, we're going to try to do, when you're in Edmonton, and there's some particular issue going on in the legislature, perhaps we can arrange for a long distance interview.
You bet.
And,
well, me or one of our wonderful caucus members
yes,
too.
yes, for sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. It's
You
been
are very welcome.
pleasure chatting.
All right.
All right. There you go.